I think it must have been in the 90s. I was doing a Shakespeare play in London. The director was a director-actor who taught at 2 of the big London drama schools. And there was a scene that we were rehearsing. And I tried something out. There was a well on the set, and I tried dipping my handkerchief in this well. And he cut it and said, "Well, that was a great idea, appallingly executed." Wrong. No. If an actor is trying something out, if an actor is taking a risk, if an actor is attempting to be creative, the correct answer is, "That was great. Now let's see if we can expand upon it. Let's see if we can take that further. Let's play around with this a bit more." But to humiliate the actor in front of the whole company when they have been attempting something new is only going to cause them to retreat. My name is John Pirkis, and this is Diary of a Failed Actor. Today we're in Fort Greene, a very beautiful little park in the heart of Brooklyn. What is it? What is bullying? Very often, what it really is a projection of the bully's own concerns and weaknesses. And they see a vulnerability in an individual and they direct it to them to take the attention away from themselves. They can either do that individually by having a go at that person when everyone else is out of sight and hearing, or they can find fellows to join in and gang up. This actually came on the back of a column in The Stage. This is the British version of Backstage by a regular columnist. He's also a multi-award winning director. In fact, he was described by the Guardian newspaper as being the most versatile, the best and the most amazingly prolific director around. This is Phil Wilmot, who founded the Steam Factory, which incorporated the Finborough Theatre. And Phil wrote this article on bullying because it was something that he had personally experienced as an actor in a production. And he was aware now as a director, and as a director going in to teach at drama schools around London, that bullying is rife and it needs to be addressed. We are, all of us, very vulnerable, particularly when we're in the rehearsal process, when we're trying to feel our way around our character, around the text, and around some actors that we've only just met. We don't fully know each other. So it's almost a testing ground in so many different areas. Bristol was a huge leap for me, and I was so out of my depth. I was not streetwise, I was not world-wise, I was not very wise, full stop. And what I suffered during those first terms of my first year was a psychological bullying of my peers, being sarcastic, making jibes about things I was saying or actions I was making within an exercise or a rehearsal process. But not behind my back so I couldn't hear them, but right in front of me so I could see and hear them. And that had a devastating effect on me, which actually took me quite a few years to recover from. To a man and woman in that group, as we headed into the next year, every single one of them, when they realised what exactly was going on for me at home and what I was bringing with me, apologised profusely. And I acknowledge that, and I recognise that, and I appreciate that. It's very important, as soon as there's any sign of bullying starting, to get it nipped in the bud. I actually don't know in the early 80s how my principal or the acting staff would have handled it. And in fact, I had this fear that if I went to them, I would be told, well, if you don't like it, if you can't stand it, then go home. I'm sure that wouldn't be the case, but it wasn't as recognised then as it is now. I didn't recognise it. I never realised actually quite how ingrained the damage to my confidence was from those several terms within my first year of being ganged up against by my peers in that fashion. But boy, it really did play heavily on me. But it is also important not to play the victim or to carry that card with you. It is still rife within drama schools. Not necessarily, interestingly enough, so much between the acting students, but where it is noticeable, and this is something Phil picked up on, and more so when you're actually out professionally, is the director's handling of actors and the rehearsal process. I was actually talking to another young actor, and he was working with a very well-known British theatre company and a well-known director. And for whatever reason, the director really had it in for him and was projecting everything onto him. And when it came to the final production rehearsal, the last week before actually teching and going on to stage, at the break in the intermission of what would be the intermission, this director went up to him and started poking him in the chest and in front of the whole company and all the producers and all the bigwigs from the theatre, saying, "What are you doing? Why are you ruining our play? What are you doing to my play?" No. And he was fearful about saying anything because he thought, well, if I rock the boat, he was young, he was just out of drama school, well, maybe this will affect my prospects. I'm fairly confident, certainly Bristol Vic did this, and most of the big drama schools, LAMDA, RADA, Central, I'm sure they all do this now. The directors on the directors' courses have to go into actors' classes, and the actors have to go into directors' classes, so they get an idea of how each operate. And so are more appreciative and respectful of each other's particular avenue and arena. What triggers it off? Is it jealousy? Is it the scent of fear coming off a particular individual? And we come into this pack animal instinct and we gang up against someone, we see a weakness, and instead of assisting in that weakness, we try and pull them apart. And this doesn't just apply to actors. I reference this to any time in your life, whether you're in the playground as a kid, or whether you're in an office, because this bullying goes on throughout everybody's lives. At some point you will experience it, you'll either witness it, you'll be the butt end of it, or you may actually find yourself being the bully. And it's important to stop and reference the situation, recognize it, and it's very easy to be a bully, especially when there are numbers involved against one person, or if you take that person out of earshot and sight of others. If you've become aware of their vulnerability, of there being a chink in their armour. If you are the one that's being bullied, then indeed you need to go and say something to somebody within the production, or just front up to the bully and say, why are you doing this? It's about standing up for yourself. It's about moving on as well. If something like this has happened to you at some point, at some stage in your life, it's about recognizing that was then, this is now. Those people who chose at that time to behave the way they did, well, they're not there now. Say no to bullying, and this is a campaign I associated myself with in Los Angeles. And say no to bullying within your profession, within your industry. Don't let it happen to you, don't allow it to happen to others. Stand up for yourself. This is very often something that can be corrected by dialogue. And certainly not by physically punching the crap out of one another. That's not going to achieve anything. As soon as you see someone stumbling, don't pounce on them, don't kick them when they're down, pick them up, give them the support they need and the encouragement. The whole point, especially at drama school, and certainly within the rehearsal process, is for actors to take risks, to be fearless. And that's the only way as an actor that you grow. And by the actor growing, the whole piece grows and benefits. So why dismantle that? Support and help. Don't diminish and denigrate and kick down. It's not beneficial to anybody. My name is John Pirkis, and I'll see you next week in Diary of a Failed Actor.